technology is my friend today. It's always a little nerve-wracking until everything works. Okay. Welcome. So now I'm just waiting to see this on my phone so that I can respond to comments. And blop, blop, blop. I am so excited today. This is one of my all-time favorite foods to make. My kids ask for it all the time. In fact, when they walked into the kitchen today and they looked at just what the ingredients were over here prepped, they all said, "Oh, are you making mac and cheese?" And I said, "Yep." So my kids can recognize it just by the ingredients that I have. Okay, woo, we're here. So go ahead in the comments, let me know where you're coming from. And if you love mac and cheese or not. Now this is actually the same base recipe that I use for my homemade Alfredo as well. Remember, I did a live last year about my Alfredo. I don't make like the classic Alfredo because as delicious as it is, you need really, really high quality ingredients to make classic Alfredo, and American ingredients aren't quite good enough, and then it's really only good for one meal and it separates. You need to eat it with the pasta and the sauce, where the Alfredo sauce that I make, that is basically my mac and cheese sauce but with just Parmesan, you can reheat, you can use for like Alfredo pizzas, you can use for dipping breadsticks and all that jazz. So this is a base cheese sauce, and depending on what cheeses you put in it, you can put it all over all different kinds of pastas. I am using a mix of cheese, of course cheddar being one of them, because mac and cheese just feels like you need cheddar. Right? So first thing we're going to do is start the pasta. So I have warm. I've pre-boiled some water so we could get started without waiting for this to come to a boil. But of course I don't have this on. And let's turn on my fan so that we don't get steam all over everything. Okay, there we go. So it's not going to look like it's boiling because it's not. It was boiling over there. I brought it over here and now it's not boiling, but it will be, because I'm going to put it back on the stove. So you want to start with boiling water and pasta. Now this recipe is for 2 pounds of pasta. So I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Once that pasta hits that warm water, that's kind of when it starts sticking together. So if you stir it right away, you'll be able to prevent some clumps from happening. Nobody wants clumpy, sticky pasta. Am I right? All right, I'm going to bring it back over to the stove. Whew, heavy, hot. And we are going to let this boil away over here. Start. And I'm gonna bring my pot over to make our cheese sauce now. Okay, get everything out of the way. So the first thing that we're gonna do to start our cheese sauce is to start with a roux. And so how we're gonna do that is melt some butter. Now, you can start with a lot of different kinds of oils. Butter is the most traditional, and it's the one that I like the best, and I always start with. And once the butter's all melted, we're going to add our flours and our cornstarches. But in the meantime, if you like fresh garlic in your sauce, this is a great time to add it, because then it will get that great cooked flavor in with the butter. So I'm actually going to add some garlic and some shallots. Shallots are one of my very favorite things to cook with. Let's get all that in there. And get this in here. All this freshly grated garlic. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love freshly grated garlic. So what a recipe calls for like 2 teaspoons, I usually add like 2 tablespoons. I tend to go a little garlic heavy-handed, and luckily my kids are with me on this one. They love garlic too, so I don't have to like cut back to keep them happy. So what we're just looking for is for the shallots and the garlic to become a little bit aromatic and to become a little bit opaque on the shallot side of things, and for the butter to melt completely. All right, you're watching from Alabama, from the UK, from Kentucky, from Australia. Dang, Mexico, Michigan, you guys are from all over. Mandy, that's a great question. Salted or unsalted? Technically, anytime you're doing like baking and cooking, unsalted is what chefs will tell you to use, because that way you can control your salts more perfectly and more precisely in your recipes. And a lot of countries in the world, unsalted and salted butter are the same price, so it's not that big of a deal. But here in America, unsalted butter is more expensive, salted butter is cheaper, and I'm a salt fanatic, so I just go with salted butter and then I add more salt on top of that. But if you're more sensitive to salt and to flavors, then go ahead and go with the unsalted, but honestly I just grab whatever I have in the fridge and I start with that. So for me, it usually means salted. I love cooking from scratch, but I also don't want it to be overly complicated, if that makes sense. You love mac and cheese. Oh, from Niagara Falls, New York. Awesome, looking beautiful, love the hair. Oh, thank you so much. From Sydney, Australia. Dang, 10 a.m. on Wednesday there. Good morning. Glad that you're awake and joining us. Crystal, you finally caught a live stream from Alberta, Canada. Dang, you guys are from everywhere today. We've got a great crowd. All right, so check this out. It is nice and melted now. Oh, we're getting some sunshine from my window. It's been cloudy and snowy all day, so I didn't think I'd have to deal with sunshine coming in. But all right, so it's nice and clear. Butter is all melted. So we're gonna add our flour. Oh, whoa, that is way bright. Hold on. Let me shut the curtain. I finally bought a curtain just for afternoons like this one, because who wants sunshine? Ew, blech. All right, so let's try this again where we're not blown out by all the light. Okay, so this is flour. And for a lot of recipes, a roux is just that, the fat and the flour, butter and flour. But when you're adding cheese, you also want to add some cornstarch to this recipe, because what cornstarch will do is it will keep the cheese as it melts into the sauce from getting super stringy, and it will help it melt smoother. All right. I think I melted down my butter a little bit too much. This is always the fun part. When I'm doing live, I swear everything that can go wrong does go wrong. When I'm just making it at home for my kids, everything works out perfectly. Nothing ever goes wrong when nobody's watching. All right, so, but that's okay. This will just help it be a little bit thicker later. Oh, look, I have a little bit of butter right here. Perfect. I'm gonna add a little bit of butter. And the reason for that is I want this to be a little smoother, simply so I can get it to a slightly darker color. So with roux, the lighter it is and the earlier you add your liquids, the better thickener it is. You do want to make sure that you cook this long enough to cook the flour flavor out. If anybody has ever just dumped their flour and mixed it and added your liquids right away, you might have tasted that. And the other thing is, the longer you cook your roux, the darker it will get and the nuttier the flavor will be. So when I'm making, kind of depending on what I'm making, but when I'm making mac and cheese, I kind of like to get slightly tan. It brings out a slightly nutty flavor, but not really, like nothing that's going to affect the flavor of the mac and cheese. And it's still strong enough that it's, water, a good thickener. All right, stir the pasta really fast. I get so excited about talking about this stuff and nerding out that I sometimes forget to double check things. Like, you know, pasta sauce. Okay. All right, pasta's looking good. And this is looking good too. So can you see how it's gotten a little bit darker, a little bit tanner? Sometimes under these lights, it can be hard to see that effect. You've never used cornstarch, great idea. Thank you. You've just used flour. I can't read all the comments. Close that. All right. There we go. Touchscreens are awesome. Unless you touch the wrong thing. Okay. Alicia, hi. Okay, so hopefully now you can see that that color has gotten a lot darker, and now we're going to add our liquids. So you can just add half and half. I like to add milk and cream because I like to control that a little bit more. I used to do 50-50, and then I just noticed it was always so thick, and I was always adding extra milk. And so now I do 2 cups milk and 1 cup cream, but I do keep some extra milk on hand because sometimes, kind of depending on the day, it just ends up a little bit too thick. And the best way to thin down a little bit of cheese sauce is to add a little bit of milk. So there we go. I'm gonna add the milk first and give that a good stir. And then I'm gonna add my cream. It also depends on the quality of your cream too. I use really high fat cream, high quality cream, so that makes a big difference too. But use what you have around. Hello from Oregon, Ashlee Jacobson. You spell your name the same way as me, and I grew up in Oregon, so hello. Feel like I'm talking to myself. Love the hair, thank you so much. California, Phoenix, Washington State. I was born in Washington and in Vancouver. Man, today is awesome. Last week, I think it's because I did it so late in the day. Last week we missed a lot of people, but today it seems like everybody's on. This is so much fun. Okay, so the beginning was a roux, and now we're making a bechamel sauce. And this is also a base for a ton of different recipes. Each component of these can be used in so many different things. So roux I also use in a lot of Cajun food. I tend to make more Creole food, so a lot of Creole food, and but Cajun food as well. And this bechamel sauce is a great base for a lot of those creamier soups. I make almost this exact same thing to add to my broccoli and cheddar soup, my clam chowder, and all these other stuff. This is a great thickener. And again, by adding that garlic and that shallot at the beginning, you bring a whole level of flavor into this bechamel sauce that can be added to other stuff. If you just stick with the butter, flour, milk ratio, then you are adding no flavor at all, just thickness and creaminess to soup. So it kind of depends on what you're cooking, what components you want to add to this. So what we're trying to do now is keep stirring this, but bring it to a boil. But we don't want it to overboil. Actually, what we're really looking to do is just bring it to a simmer. And I'm gonna go check on. I'm gonna turn the temperature down a little bit and bring in a whisk so I can more quickly get this to stay together. And check the pasta at the same time. So, whisk. And pasta check. Okay, so this is looking good. Try to get just one little pasta out. Whew. All right. Hot. Okay. That pasta is perfect. So we want to take that off the stove and look at how beautiful this is coming together. Now it looks like it's still chunky, but you have to remember that this is actually the shallots and the garlic that are getting those chunks. See how nice and creamy it is and how smooth it looks in between? So when you add shallots and garlic, it's a little bit harder to determine if it's still like chunky with flour or not. So if you are a little bit nervous, maybe leave the shallots and the garlic out the first time that you make this. Oh, this is perfect. So I'm going to bring this all the way down to low, and I'm going to drain the pasta real fast. I got the coolest thing on Amazon the other day. Check this out. It just, instead of having to like have a big huge thing in your sink, you just add this to the side of your bowl. I love it. It's awesome for draining pasta. Okay. Oh, I'm all wrapped up in my microphone cord. All right, so I have a quick question for you. How many people are pasta drainers here? Pasta rinsers is what I meant to ask. I am not a pasta rinser, and there's a couple reasons why. When you rinse your pasta, you're actually getting rid of all the starch that's on the outside of the pasta, and that's actually what helps hold onto the sauce. And I don't know about you, but I like my pasta and my sauce to hold together. All right, let's put that over there. And let's finish up the sauce. So I like my pasta and my sauce to hold together really well, and so I don't want my sauce to slip off my pasta, so I don't rinse my pasta. But if you're going to let your pasta sit for a long time, then you might want to rinse it, because that starch is also what keeps your pasta sticking together as it cools down. All right, so time to add the spices. So a couple different things. I always like to add white pepper. I used to add normal pepper, and then I got a couple nasty comments on my blog about the black splotches from the black pepper. So now I add white pepper, so I don't get those complaints from the true Italians. And then there's a couple different things. Mustard is actually a really classic spice, and actually so is nutmeg. Nutmeg and cheeses go together really, really well. And then of course, if you're looking for a kick, some chili powder or cayenne pepper are a good way to go. So I'm gonna add, this time around, last time I did mustard and nutmeg, so this time around I'm gonna go with some chili. I like to change it up every time I make this recipe for my kids. Once we did it with all smoked cheeses, and it was a little bit much for the kids. The kids didn't like that one quite as much. All right, I'm also adding a little mustard, but I'm going to leave the nutmeg out this time because of the chili powder. The one thing you'll notice that I did not add is salt. And the reason for that is cheeses have a lot of their own natural salt in them. And so you want to wait to add the salt and to salt this sauce until after you've added the cheese. Otherwise, you could really oversalt it, which in my opinion is not a bad thing, but some people don't like it. All right, so now we're going to add our cheeses. I have 3 different types of cheeses that I'm using. So I like to use white cheddar, because I like this to be a white mac and cheese. And I like the sharp cheddars. And let's face it, all cheese is really white. Cheddar just has yellow dye in it. So, all right, and then I like to use some Gruyere. It's also one of my absolute favorite cheeses. And then a little Monterey Jack to throw in a slightly different flavor profile there. And then we're going to start stirring this in. And it's going to take a little bit for this to all melt. Again, I've moved this to low. You don't want to keep cooking your sauce once it's thickened, and it will continue to thicken as it cools down. So once it starts to simmer, I turn it down to low, and it will continue to thicken as it cools, but you still want it warm enough to melt the cheese. So I tend to bring it down to low rather than turn it off completely. All right, so while I'm stirring this in, I'm going to try to catch up on comments. You guys are awesome, being so talkative today. Did I turn the flame off from the pasta? Yes. I actually took the pasta completely off the heat. Donna, you love mac and cheese. Yay, I'm so glad. Okay, you guys are also non-rinsers. Some people are rinsers, some people are not rinsers. It was one of those things that I had never thought about until, I don't know, somebody brought it up in a group I was in once, and I had grown up as a rinser. My mom was a rinser, and so I just grew up that way. You don't really know any better, right? All right, turn this back up just a little bit. So this is looking like it's going to be a little on the thick side, so I might need to add a little bit of milk. But I'm going to wait until the cheese is more melted to make that decision. All right. You do it with rice. Alfredo sauce with rice or cheddar cheese sauce with rice. That would be good. All right, I'm a big fat liar. I'm going to add a little bit of milk now because I can tell it's going to be. That was probably about 1/4 cup extra. It also depends on your altitude. Every time I move to a different place, I have to readjust all my ingredients as well. So that's the great part about cooking. Baking is so precise and so chemical engineering, chemistry, that you need to be really careful with baking. But with cooking, you can play a little bit more. And so it's not quite, it doesn't matter quite as much. So actually, this one, it also depends on the quality of your cheeses too. I grate all my own cheeses. I do not like the pre-grated cheeses. And the reasoning for that is the pre-grated cheeses, I feel like because they have a coating to keep them in the, it's lasting longer when they're not in block form. I feel like it has a weird aftertaste that I don't care for. And I feel like the cheese is actually weaker when it's pre-grated at the grocery store. And like I have to use a lot more cheese to get the same flavor that I get from grating it myself. So I always freshly grate my cheese. This white cheddar that I'm using today is an extra sharp, extra aged, and I've noticed that when I use it, I do have to add more milk. It doesn't quite melt the same way that the Gruyere melts. So don't be so stuck when you're cooking and so precise and married to a recipe that you don't use some common sense and go like, oh, you know what, this is a little thick, let's thin it down a little bit. I was like that for a while when I was first learning to cook, because I was a baker at the beginning, right? And baking's so precise, but all right. They didn't melt. You prefer the extra aged white cheddar, and you also add a little bit of cream cheese to yours. You know, I have tried adding cream cheese to a couple sauces because I've had people say they really like it, and I just haven't been a fan. But that's just me personally. But I like cream cheese and a lot of things that other people don't. So it all depends. Okay, this is looking really good. And remember, you have to remember that we also have those chunks in here of the shallots and the garlic, so it's not ever going to be perfectly smooth. I'm going to let this melt just a little longer, and then we're going to add our pasta to it. It's so good. All right, you just moved from BC to AB, so you had to relearn temperatures and stuff. Oh, yes, every time I move, it's such a nightmare. At least with cooking, it just takes a little bit of tweaking. My baking recipes are just such a pain when I move. You like sour cream in yours. You're a big mac and cheese cooker. Your adult kids love it. Smoked Gouda and horseradish. Dang, that would be a really good cheese to use in this. Let's see if we can get a good cheese pull. Oh, we're still getting some cheese rips. And add just a little bit more milk. And then before I add the pasta, I'm actually going to taste it, because this is when you add the salt right here. We've added the cheeses are all melted, and now we can taste it and decide if it needs salt at all, and if it does need salt, how much. All right. Oh, look at this big, huge block of cheese. Oh, you gotta love cheese. Okay, so let's taste test this. Grab a tasting spoon from my drawer. All right, I think it needs a little bit of salt, but not much. You never know when you're trying new cheeses, or even just a different batch of cheese, what you're gonna get. So then stir that in really good. Add a little cream cheese to yours. You're so personable and easy to follow. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I feel like I'm a hot mess most of the time. Hello from Sweden. Hello. You are on one of my top countries to visit next. Scotland and Sweden, both. Those are, get both S's too, funny enough. All right, let's taste this again. Get a new tasting spoon. Now, granted, I'm just feeding my kids, so I could probably just stick the same spoon in. It's just a good habit to get into. All right, so one of my kids is as big of a salt lover as me, so he is gonna think that that's not enough. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more for him. You do not need to do this in your own life. Not everybody likes salt the way that my family likes salt. But it doesn't get much better than salt, in my opinion. It's a great flavor enhancer, and that's what salt is for, right? It's to bring out the flavors of those cheeses and those other spices. Okay, let's add our noodles now. Okay. Actually going to, this is kind of hard to do one-handed. Oh, I lied. Because I left my pasta so long, it's starting to kind of stick together a little. So I'm gonna break it up real fast first before I add it to the pasta sauce. All right, here we go. Break it up a little bit. Now you can go two different ways. You can either add the sauce to the pasta or add the pasta to the sauce. I'm gonna go pasta to the sauce this time because this pot doesn't heat on this burner. Simple as that, only reason. All right. Whoop. Got a little bit in there, not wanting to come out. Oh! You guys just missed it. I went to stir the last little corner of pasta in here, and I went whoop, and it just went all over me and the floor. There's like half a cup of pasta on my floor now. Ah, the joys of knowing I get to clean up after this. Oh my gosh, I'm such a klutz. Oh, and now I'm just trying not to step in it so that I don't make the problem worse. Okay, let's go back to the glory of the cheese stirringness. Oh, look at all that cheese pulls. Oh, so good. Oh, seriously. I have actually not eaten today. I tend to do that. I tend to get busy with projects and work and forget to eat. And then I'm kind of like a half hobbit. I don't eat breakfast or second breakfast or third breakfast, but I do tend to eat lunch, first dinner, second dinner, third dinner, fourth dinner, and fifth dinner, all the way up until I go to bed at like 2 a.m. Oh, look at those cheese pulls. Does it get much better than this? It really does not. Oh man. All right, I think we are all stirred together. So then the final question for you is, do you serve your mac and cheese just like this, fresh and creamy and warm and ready to go? I think you can tell which one I like. Or do you put it in a pot or a baking pan and spread breadcrumbs on it and put it in your oven and bake it? Personally, I don't like drying out my pasta if I don't have to. And the breadcrumb topping isn't necessarily a big win for me that makes the more dried out pasta worth it. So I tend to not be a pasta baker personally, my preference. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys what you think. All right, so now, oh, I just dipped in a noodle. All right, woo, this is my day. New tasting spoon. And get myself a nice spoonful. Oh, look at all the glory that is this cheese. So good. Let's see if you can get a better shot from this angle too. Oh, so good. The steam is still rising. Now I get to eat. A really big bite. So good. So good. Now I'm just stirring to watch the cheese come up from the bottom and get all over the pasta. So good. Okay, so that is homemade mac and cheese. Let's see how long we've been going. Does anybody know? I made a couple missteps and I've been talking, so it takes a little bit longer. So less than 30 minutes. I would say when I'm making this without talking, but also without everything pre-prepped, right? Because that adds to it too. Having everything pre-prepped saves you time. But I don't usually pre-prep a lot when I'm in the middle of cooking. I would say this usually takes me like 20 minutes. And that's not including boiling the water, but I usually will start the water boiling. That usually takes about 10 minutes. And then while I'm doing that, I grate the cheese. And then once I add the pasta, I start the sauce. The pasta usually takes about 9 minutes to cook. And usually by the time the pasta is done and drained, the sauce is ready to go. So I'd say 10 minutes for heating up for bringing the water to boil, sometimes 15 depending on the time of year. And then like a 10 to 15 minute cook and mix time, and I'm ready to go. And honestly, that's not much longer than a box mac and cheese. And let's face it, for me, it's like 5 boxes of mac and cheese to feed my family. And it tastes so much better, and you can personalize it. Use whatever cheeses that you want. You don't have dehydrated, dried cheese. I mean, there is something nostalgic about a box of mac and cheese. Don't get me wrong. There have been plenty of days that I have just been here by myself making my first lunch and I grab for the nostalgia that is the first thing I learned to cook, box mac and cheese. But I would say 99.9% of the time, if I want mac and cheese, I just make it. It doesn't take very long, and it's super, super easy to make. So that is it. thank you for joining me. Don't forget in the comments to let me know if there are other recipes that you would like to see, cakes or movies that are coming out you'd like to see. I'm super excited because we're actually going to go see the Lego movie tonight. I'm hoping to get some inspiration. It's been a long time since I sat down and did a cake, so I'm looking for some information, but I'm going to stay on for the next couple of minutes and catch up on all the questions that I totally skipped while I was cooking. So thank you again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell or like the page depending on what platform that you're on so you don't miss this. And my plan is to do this every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, which is exactly what time we started today. That seems to be a really great time for the most people. So, all right, thanks again, and let's catch up on questions. Okay, juicy juice. You put in the oven and you bake it with cheese on top, but you only leave it for like 20 minutes and you keep a lid on so it doesn't dry out. That's a great idea, to keep the lid on so it doesn't get all dry. You just want that extra cheese to melt on top. You know what you can do? This is still warm from the stove. You could just put cheese on top of this, throw a lid on for a couple minutes, and that cheese would melt too. I'm also not a burnt cheese fan. Like a lot of people in their lasagnas, they love that burnt cheese, and I'm the one who puts foil on it most of the time so that it doesn't get all burnt and crusty. Yeah, you like more cheese than breadcrumbs. Yeah, I get that. I'm with you. You love the video, great tips. Thank you so much. Are you on Facebook? I am. I'm on everywhere. Also, Ashlee Marie Cakes. It's a mom thing to feel left out. You love the box too, depending on the brand. I know. I will say I'm a brand name girl. I can't do the cheap box. If I'm going to go for box, it's going to be the brand name box. A pecan caramel cake. Yeah, I can do a pecan caramel cake. Regular cake, not cheesecake, I assume is what you're asking about. Okay, so let's catch up here. Thanks for sharing your love of recipes. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Enjoy the movie tonight. I will. Use extra sauce if you're putting it in the oven. That's a great idea, Shannon. If you are going to put it in the oven and dry out your pasta, use extra sauce. I will say when I make this for my mac and cheese bites, I will, at this point, I add extra cheese before I lay it out and refrigerate it and let it cool and cut it up and then bread it and fry it. And the reason for that is so that as it fries and melts, that extra cheese helps keep those cheese pulls. And I do the same thing when I'm using this mac and cheese for my stuffed mac and cheese burger. So this is the mac and cheese I use for my stuffed mac and cheese burger, but I leave it a little saucier. And the same thing that I use for my mac and cheese bites, which I also leave it a little bit saucier. So in that case, I just make a little less pasta, but I keep the sauce recipe the same. I also like to keep extra sauce out for my burger to pour on top. Take more cheese sauce. It's your first time watching. Well, welcome, Shannon. I'm glad that you made it and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. You are so welcome, Judy. About 25 minutes. Right, Judy? Exactly. You like to serve it right away, especially the cheese sauce. Katie, yay! Team me. You bake it, but minus the breadcrumbs. You like the crispy parts. June? It doesn't surprise me about you. My mom likes the crispy parts too. She always likes me to bake her a little bit as well. You don't bake. Crock-pot mac is new to you though. I don't really so a lot of people are really into crock-pot mac and cheese or Instapot mac and cheese, and I will say I've tried both, and I haven't been a fan simply because I feel like the pasta's overbaked. So if there's a way around that to not overbake the pasta, but honestly, this took me 25 minutes. Like an Instapot would actually take longer because of the coming to pressure and coming down to pressure time frame. Like, I don't know about that. But that's just me. You wish you're here. You love it. Looks nice and creamy. You like it fresh and creamy. Yay, Judy and Gina. Monica, you like to serve it right away. Awesome. Great. Now you're hungry. I haven't eaten all day, so I'm hungry too. I'm super excited about this. Let's make a line. Pass the plates. Judy, you're awesome. That would be perfect. All right, can you do the mac and cheese bites live? You don't know what you're doing. Your breading breaks off once it hits the fryer, and it's so sad. I think I have a full video of that already. Juicy Juice, if you look at my YouTube, because you're on YouTube, if you go to my channel and you do a search for fried mac and cheese bites, I made a video for that on YouTube, I want to say a year and a half ago, maybe. And yeah, it's all about getting the dip, like the dip order right. Make sure you dip it in liquid and then breads. And if you really want a nice crust, I dip it in the liquid and the bread. I think I used a little bit of egg and milk, if I remember correctly. I have too many recipes in my head. And then you can dip it again and bread it again. But yeah, I haven't had a problem with that. Easter cake, that is a great idea. Okay, your tips. It looks so yummy, looks amazing. You drop food all the time, your dog eats it. I used to have toddlers who would eat it. They've grown up and they have since learned not to eat off the floor, which is probably best. But yeah, I don't allow animals in my kitchen because, you know, I'm a cook. Looks so yummy. You do it both ways depending on how you feel that day. That's a great answer, Crystal. Sometimes you bake it, sometimes you keep it juicy. Here's you like to use a good tasting beer to make mac and cheese once in a while. Deborah, I've never tried that, mostly because I don't drink any kind of alcohol, but I bet a lot of people would really enjoy that. They did milk, you love baking. Trying to catch up on stuff that I didn't catch the first time around. You like Gouda, you like to rinse your pasta, but you do rinse your rice before you cook it. Crystal, that's good. I always rinse my rice before I cook it too, unless I'm making sushi rice. I make wonderful base for cheese fondue. Yes, Katie, this would make a great base for cheese fondue. That's basically exactly what it is. Boston here. Man, we've got people from all over today. This is so much fun. I wonder if we have everybody from someplace I've lived. So I've moved 34 times. I've lived in 7 states and Japan. So I don't think we have anybody from Japan on because I think it's pretty late for them. But I was born in Oregon. I was born in Washington, grew up in Oregon, went to school in Utah, moved to Arizona, then moved to Texas, then back to Utah, then Arizona, then Idaho, then North Carolina, then Idaho again, then Arizona again, then Japan, back to Arizona, then Utah, then back to Texas, back to Utah again. So, and then within those, lots of places and apartments and stuff like that. But sensing a trend here, right? The one place I said I would never live, Utah, I've been the most times. And I've lived here the longest. You love mac and cheese, no rinsing, no rinsing. Jenna watched! It's one of my neighbors. That's always fun. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Indiana, Maine. Dang, we've got everywhere. This is so much fun. Snowy hello. You know what, Monica? It's snowing here too today. What kind of cream with milk? Deborah, that's a great question. Sorry I missed it earlier. I use heavy whipping cream. I like the higher fat content, like I said. I like the texture of it. I like the end result better. From Phoenix, California, Washington State, South Carolina, New Hampshire. Cute hair. Thank you so much. I am getting used to, I've been growing it out for like a year and a half. I know you guys probably can't tell because I keep cutting it, but I am trying to grow it out and it's getting long enough that I can do fun stuff with it, like curl it, that I didn't get to do when it was super short. So it's kind of a fun change. Salted and unsalted, we got that one. Brisbane, Australia. Okay, Australia is on my list of places to go to, but with the divorce, I don't have a lot of time that I don't have my kids with me, and I try to like travel and do culinary stuff on the weeks that they're with their dad. So I have 2 weeks in the summer, but the summer here is the winter there. Oh, and I want to go when it's warm. So what's the best time of year to go to Australia? Because I've got to figure out a way to make that work. New Orleans, yay. Hey. Okay, Erica, Best was watching. Hello. Okay, whew, I caught up there. Let's get to the bottom. Fat equals flavor. Yes, June, you are right. Is there a way to talk to you off live? You have questions to ask. You can email me at ashlee@ashleemarie.com. Yes, because it still cooks even when it's off. That's a great. Yes, that's exactly right. 2 pounds of pasta before cooking. Yes, I have 5 kids, so there's 6 of us, and honestly, there's no leftovers. In fact, at the end of this, people will still be hungry. So I think I'm going to actually switch over and start making 3 pounds of this because then I can have second lunch the next day. There might be a little bowl for me left for me. Teenage boys. Oh my gosh, seriously. It was so much. You need the starch, told under your sauces, yours into your rice. Okay, I'm catching up over here. Angie, you love my tutorials. Thank you so much. You have your own mistakes that you learned the hard way by cooking the flour, the taste out. Juicy juice, yes, yeah, for sure. Like, I learned that the hard way myself too. I'm totally self-taught, so everything I've learned about cooking has been oftentimes the hard way. But that's a really good way to learn, right? Make Dante cake from cocoa. Oh, that is a good recommendation. Finally got a live stream. Thank you. Love the hair. Looking beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. You're my favorite. This is your favorite of all my hair colors. Thank you so much. Purple is my favorite too. It tends to be the thing that I go back to over and over and over again, but it's fun to change it up with like turquoises and blues. Last year I even did a rose gold that I was never really sure about, but looking back, I think I liked it more than I thought I did. So, all right, I think I am all caught up. Toronto. You've been to Tokyo. Yay. You have a cinnamon roll recipe loved by everyone. I love cinnamon rolls. I make them all the time. I made a video 2 years ago, I think, where I made 5 different kinds of cinnamon rolls. Oh my gosh, that was the longest video ever. It took forever. I made chocolate cinnamon rolls, caramel pecan cinnamon rolls, pumpkin maple cinnamon rolls, classic cinnamon rolls, orange rolls. Oh, what am I missing? Is that all of them? And then I also, my very favorite cinnamon roll to make is actually maple bacon cinnamon roll, but I'm sure that shocks nobody who's been following me for a while because maple bacon is like my all-time favorite flavor. I make everything maple bacon if I can. But yes, I love, 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 love making cinnamon rolls. Okay, I think I'm all cut up. Do you see my question? What time do you usually go on? Shannon, that's a great question. I go on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, which is the exact time I started today, which is 40 minutes ago. So whatever 40 minutes ago is for you, that's the time I try to go live on Tuesdays. We do have technical difficulties every once in a while because the internet loves to be annoying. And so sometimes it's pushed back a little bit, but that's my goal is 4 p.m. on Tuesdays. So, last week was like super late. It was just one of those days. But hey, you want to say hi? Or you just want mac and cheese? Ooh, it's my cooking show co-host. You want to come say hi? Oh. Okay, all right, say hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Are you excited to eat mac and cheese?
Yep.
Yep. I was surprised you didn't want to cook with me today. Are you frozen? Looks like you're frozen. Okay, he's getting himself a spoon. All right, I think, Kathy, it was your first time watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you caught most of it. Okay, I think, hold on. You just made chocolate, apple pie, pecan pie, pumpkin pie, strawberry. Agreed, teen boys are garburators. You have a 3. Yes, oh my word. Like, that whole hollow leg thing is totally true. Jesse, are you saying you make chocolate, apple pie, pecan pie, pumpkin pie, and strawberry pie cinnamon rolls? Or you just made all those pies in one day? Because that's crazy.
Why are there so many pieces of mac and cheese on the ground?
I don't know. Did you spill that mac and cheese on the ground?
No, I just found that there.
It wasn't there. You came in and it's all over. It was me. I spilled on accident.
When?
I spilled about 10 minutes ago, I'd say. Yeah, he is a cutie pie. That is for sure. Hello from Pennsylvania. First time watching for you, Judy. Okay, well, I have all caught up on all the questions. This was a really quick one, 40 minutes. I did want to show how fast and easy this was to make, so thank you for joining us. If anybody was late and didn't get to see, today we made my homemade mac and cheese. Usually it takes me about 25 minutes to make. It took us about 35 minutes to make today just because of taking the time to talk and answer questions and stuff like that. But it's super easy, way better than boxed mac and cheese, super delicious, and my kids' all-time favorite food. So if you are on Facebook, the link is in the description box. You can head over and print the recipe straight from my site. If you are on YouTube, you can do either one. In the description box of YouTube, there's the full recipe, or you can click over and head over to my site and print and go from there. And remember, the best part about cooking from scratch is that you can personalize it and have fun with it. And that is one of my goals, is to have fun with real food. And hopefully you guys I will see you next week. Don't forget to leave me comments letting me know if you have any recommendations for other foods or cakes or themed foods or party foods or holiday foods you would like to see and have me create. So thanks again for watching and have a great day. All right, bye.